Sintra is a magical town near Lisbon, famed for its romantic places, lush forests, and mystical charm. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of Portugal's most enchanting destinations. Historic center of Sintra is filled with cobbled streets, artisan shops, and pastel-colored facades. In the historic center of Sintra is the Palácio Nacional de Sintra, the oldest palace in Portugal with iconic twin chimneys and a blend of Gothic, Manueline, and Moorish styles. Castelo das Moras are Moorish ruins offering panoramic views and a glimpse into Sintra's Islamic past. Palacio de Pena is a 19th century Romanist palace perched atop the Cerro de Sintra. Its vibrant colors and eclectic design evoke a dream-like fantasy. In this vlog, I'll be taking a day trip to the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Sintra and its enchanting castles. The easiest way to get from Lisbon to Sintra is by taking a direct train from Rossio in central Lisbon, with trains departing every 15 to 20 minutes and the journey taking approximately 40 minutes. Early arrival is key to beating crowds. From Sintra's train station to the center of the town, where you'll find the National Palace. It's a 10-minute walk. This is quite a scenic walk, passing by the flamboyant town hall along the way. From there, it's possible to walk to Quinta de Regalera and Sataya's Palace. You'll need to take a bus to Pena Palace, the Moorish Castle, and Monserrate Palace. There's a bus that goes all the way up to Pena Palace and the Moorish Castle, and another to Monserrate Palace. Both depart from behind the train station. Take bus 434 to Pena Palace. The route starts at Sintra station, moving on to São Pedro de Sintra, then to Sintra Villa, where National Palace is, Castelo de Moras, and Palacio de Pena. Along the home of Portugal's monarchs, Sintra is a magnificent town of marvelous historic mansions set against the backdrop of lush hills. Sintra's many castles include the Palacio Nacional de Sintra, Palacio de Pena, and the Castelo de Moras. Use my link to plan your trip to Sintra. Sintra's history spans millennia, from Neolithic settlements and Moorish rule to royal retreats and romantic renovation. Its layered past shaped one of Portugal's most iconic cultural landscapes. Archaeological evidence suggests human settlement in the Sintra Hills as early as the Neolithic period. Sintra was part of the Roman province of Lusitania, with villas and roads connecting to Allpa, modern-day Lisbon. The Romans occupied the region, calling it part of Civitas Allsponiensis, and built roads and temples between the 1st century BCE and the 5th century CE. The Moors fortified Sintra with the Castelo dos Moras, leveraging its elevation for defense in the 8th century. A 10th century Moorish geographer referenced Sintra's castle and governor's residence, likely on the site of today's National Palace. From the 8th century onwards, the Moors fortified the area, building the Castle of the Moors. In 1147, after Lisbon's conquest by Afonso Henriques, Sintra's Moorish rulers surrendered, ending centuries of Islamic control. The royal residence at the Palacio Nacional de Sintra became a favored retreat for Portuguese monarchs, each leaving architectural and cultural imprints. The first official royal residence was built here in 1281, which became the foundation for the current National Palace of Sintra. From the 15th century, Sintra became the preferred summer residence for Portuguese royalty. The 1755 Lisbon earthquake damaged many structures in the area. In the 1800s, King Ferdinand transformed a ruined monastery into the Palacio de Pena, blending Gothic, Moorish, Renaissance, and Egyptian styles. Sintra became Europe's first center of Romantic architecture, inspiring poets, artists, and landscape designers. The 19th century marked a golden age, heavily influenced by the Romanticism movement, which led to the creation of new palaces and gardens, such as the Pena Palace and the Monserrate Palace. Wealthy visionaries continued to develop estates like Quinta de Regaleira during this time. Sintra's history spans from prehistoric times to its designation as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1995. Its region was inhabited by various people, including Romans and Moors, before the 1147 Christian conquest. Sintra became a favorite royal summer retreat, which spurred the construction of its famous palaces and gardens during the 15th century and its golden age between the 18th and 19th century, particularly during the Romanticism movement. Sintra was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site as a cultural landscape honoring its fusion of architecture, nature, and symbolism. The town became a popular destination for artists, writers, and musicians who were inspired by its unique landscape and architecture. Sintra began to experience a rise in tourism in the early 20th century. Today, Sintra is a global destination celebrated for its palaces, gardens, and mystical allure. The historic center of Sintra is a compact atmospheric hub where centuries of royals, Moorish, and Romantic history converge in cobbled streets, pastel facades, and cultural landmarks. The Palacio Nacional de Sintra is known as the Town Palace. It is the oldest surviving royal palace in Portugal and the centerpiece of Sintra's historic identity. It's a living archive of architectural evolution, royal intrigue, and cultural layering. Originally a Moorish palace, it was repurposed after the Christian conquest in the 12th century. From the 15th to 19th century, it was a summer retreat for Portuguese monarchs escaping the summer heat in Lisbon. The palace embodies Portugal's multicultural past, from Moorish, Gothic, Manueline, and even Madajar influences coexist in its halls. The palace evolved over centuries, especially under King Zhao I and King Manuel I, then blending Gothic austerity with ornate Manueline flourishes. Its iconic twin chimneys are the palace's most recognizable features. The two massive conical chimneys rise from the palace kitchens and dominate the Sintra skyline. Palacio Nacional de Sintra is the centerpiece of the historic center. This palace is Portugal's best preserved medieval royal palace. Its iconic twin chimneys and Manueline interiors reflect centuries of royal occupation. Rua das Padarias and Rua Consigliera Pedrosa are winding streets that are lined with 18th and 19th century townhouses, artisans shops, and cafes. They form the civic spine of Old Sintra. The historic center reflects Sintra's layered past, from Moorish foundation to Romantic renovation. You'll find Islamic arches, Gothic windows, and Romanist flourishes within meters of each other. Enjoy the photogenic alleys, including side streets and staircases like the Travesso do Municipio or Rua Ferreira. Casa Periquita is a historic famous bakery popular for Sintra streets. Visit local shops that sell ceramics, cork goods, and azulejos tiles abound, although the prices can be tourist inflated. The historic center is small but hilly. Expect steep steps and cobblestones. Comfortable shoes are essential. The best time to visit is early morning or late afternoon to avoid peak crowds and capture golden light on the facades. Photography is permitted in most areas, though flash and tripods are restricted indoors. Swap Lisbon for an action-packed half-day tour of the picturesque town of Sintra. Save time figuring out local transport and instead enjoy the luxury of having a round-trip private transfer in an air-conditioned vehicle. Stop off at many top Sintra highlights along the way, including Pena Palace, the historic center of Sintra, and Quinta de Regalera. Use my link to join a half-day tour in Sintra from Lisbon through Viator. Visit a variety of viewpoints in the mountain in Sintra to discover more about Pena Palace and Moorish Castle. This private tour is completely customizable, so it's up to you which highlights in the area you would like to visit. Book a private half-day tour to Sintra and Pena Palace through GoWithGuide. The Castelo dos Moures, better known as the Moorish Castle, is one of Sintra's most evocative landmarks, a rugged medieval fortress draped across the Cerro de Sintra ridgeline. Offers not just panoramic views, but a tangible link to Portugal's Islamic past and post-Reconquest renovation. Its origins date back as far as the 8th to 9th century. Built by the Moors during the Islamic occupation of the Iberian Peninsula, the castle served as a strategic lookout over the Atlantic Ocean and Lisbon Plains. In 1147, after the Christian conquest of Lisbon, the castle was surrendered to Afonso Henriques, Portugal's first king. King Ferdinand II restored the ruins in the 19th century as part of his romantic vision for Sintra, reintegrating it into the landscape of myth and memory. The current walls are the castle's stone ramparts that sneak along the ridge, offering dramatic views of Sintra, the Palacio de Sintra, and the Atlantic coast. The towers and battlements punctuate the tower. Several towers punctuate the walls, including the Royal Tower, which offer high vantage points. The castle was constructed for its viewpoint, and there are magnificent views over the Sintra region, and on a clear day, all the way to Mafra and Iraceria. The Alcacova is the castle's stronghold and last line of defense in battle, or where Moorish leaders would rule from in peaceful times. From the battlements, there were amazing views over Sintra town. Cisterns and silos can still be seen here. These are remnants of medieval storage towers and food silos which hint at the castle's self-sufficiency during sieges. The Torre Real, or King's Tower, is the highest point of the castle, adorned by King Ferdinand II due to its stunning views over Sierra de Sintra Hills and up to the Pena Palace. It may be an arduous climb up the 220 steps of the battlement, but the view is truly worth it. The Moorish castle will appeal to adventurous and outdoor types of visitors due to the amount of climbing around the battlements and stunning views. The castle is surprisingly large, with over 450 meters of battlements and 5 towers that can be fully explored. The setting of the castle is also quite unique as it spans a craggy ride comprised of massive boulders with a lower section which are intertwined with ancient forests. This combined to make the castle popular with outdoor types of visitors that prefer nature over rich history. The Moorish castle, located in Sintra, Portugal, is a fascinating historical monument that attracts thousands of visitors each year. Perched on a hill with breathtaking views over the region, this medieval castle is a must-see for lovers of history, nature, and spectacular scenery. Soaring 412 meters above sea level, this mist-enshrouded ruined castle looms high above the surrounding forest. When the clouds peel away, the vistas over Sintra's palace-dotted hill and dale across the glittering Atlantic, like the climb, are breathtaking. The 10th century Moorish castle's dizzying ramparts stretch across the mountain ridges and past moss-clad boulders the size of small buses. The castle embodies Sintra's bounce-back arc from Moorish strongholds to romantic ruin. Its views symbolize both surveillance and sublime contemplation, military utility turned poetic vista. Do be advised, there is a lot of walking and climbing at the Moorish castle around the narrow battlements. This is only really suitable if you are physically fit and healthy. The battlements are narrow and high in certain areas. It's not really suitable if you're scared of heights or for very young children. The Pena Park and Palace in the Sintra Mountains are a product of the creative genius of King Fernando II and the epitome of 19th century Romanticism in Portugal. Architecturally speaking, they are a mix of Manueline and Moorish architecture. The palace was built so that it can be seen from any point in the park, forest, or luxuriant gardens with their 500 plus species of trees from 4 corners of the world. Pena Park is a botanical wonderland which surrounded the palace in a 200-hectare park with over 500 species of trees from around the world. It has hidden trails and vistas including the Queen's Fern Valley, temples of columns, and panoramic viewpoints. Pena Palace is a romantic masterpiece perched atop Sintra hills, blending Gothic, Moorish, Renaissance, and Manueline styles into a vivid fairy tale structure. Built in the 19th century by King Ferdinand II, it's one of Europe's most eclectic and iconic palaces. Pena Palace was built on the ruins of a 16th century monastery, parts of which, like the Manueline cloister and chapel, were incorporated into the new palace. Commissioned by King Ferdinand II in 1838, inspired by romantic ideals, transformed the site into a fantastical palace that defied conventional architectural norms. Construction was completed in 1854, designed by German architect Wilhelm Ludwig von Eschwege, and the palace became a symbol of Portuguese Romantic revival. In 1995, it was designated a World Heritage Site as part of the cultural landscape of Sintra. The Pena Palace has a profusion of styles, much in accordance with the exotic taste of Romanticism. The intentional mix of eclectic styles include the Neo-Gothic, Neo-Manueline, and Neo-Renaissance. The eclectic fusion combines Gothic towers, Moorish arches, Manueline windows, and Renaissance domes in a kaleidoscope of styles. The color palette of the palace is also very notable, with its vivid yellows, reds, and blues which evoke a dreamlike fantasy enhanced by misty mountain surrounding. Interior highlights of the palace include the Arab room, the chapel, and royal quarters. The Arab room is ornate stucco and exotic motifs. The chapel is made of marble and has an alabaster altarpiece from the original monastery. The royal quarters have been preserved from the 19th century furnishing and decorative arts. Pena Palace is a fantasy palace mixing details inspired by Gothic, Manueline, Moorish, and Renaissance styles, creating one of the finest examples of European Romanticism. They are watchtowers of various shapes. One of the gateways is topped by the half-man, half-fish Triton, and much of the interior has been untouched since the last royals left in 1910. It's decorated with Oriental porcelain and European furniture. The castle stands on the top of a hill in the Sintra Mountains above the town of Sintra, and on a clear day, it can be seen from Lisbon and much of its metropolitan area. It's a national monument and constitutes one of the major expressions of 19th century Romanticism in the world. The palace is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the 7 wonders of Portugal. Explore the classic ruined castle established during the 9th century and built with fortified stone walls. Marvel at the wonderful panoramic views over the hills of Serra da Sintra. Use my link to buy Skip the Line tickets to the Castle Use my link to purchase Skip the Line tickets to Castle of the Moors. Marvel at Pena Palace, one of the most magnificent and recognizable tourist attractions of Portugal. The palace exemplifies the 19th century Romanticism style of architecture and stands atop a rocky peak, which is the 2nd highest point in Sintra Hills. Use my link to purchase entry tickets to Pena Palace and Park. Sintra is not just a destination, it's a layered experience of history, architecture, nature, and mysticism. The historic center of Sintra is a UNESCO World Heritage Site filled with cobbled streets, pastel facades, artisan shops, and poetic alleys. Pena Palace is a romantic fantasy blending Gothic, Moorish, Manueline, and Renaissance style, and is one of the signature palaces of Sintra, and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site in its own right. The National Palace of Sintra is Portugal's oldest royal palace with medieval, Gothic, and Manueline layers. Castelo das Moras is one of Sintra's most evocative landmarks, a rugged fortress draped across the Serra da Sintra ridgeline. Sintra's transformation from Moorish stronghold to royal retreat to romantic icon mirrors Portugal's own cultural evolution. Each site reflects a different mode of reinvention, ruin to fantasy, simplicity to symbolism, nature to narrative. In my next vlog, I'll be visiting Belém, Cais do Sodré, and Barrio Alto.